I knew things were going downhill the moment Claire got elected as the new HOA director. Blonde bob cut, oversized sunglasses, clipboard glued to her hand like a badge of authority, a walking stereotype of everything wrong with power-hungry suburban Karens. She hadn't even warmed the seat before dropping a laundry list of rules no one asked for. No more front yard flamingos. Trash bins must be color-coded. Lawn height monitored weekly, and God help you if your curtains didn't match your shutters. Overnight, the peaceful Florida cul-de-sac I called home turned into a dictatorship run by a woman who smiled like a politician and barked like a drill sergeant. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. At first, we laughed it off, thought she'd settle once the power high wore off. But nope, she doubled down, held morning inspections, took pictures of people's porches like she was filming for HGTV's Most Wanted. I caught her measuring the distance between my sidewalk edge and the street lamp one day. When I asked what she was doing, she told me it was a safety protocol. Claire had officially declared war on freedom. Still, I kept my head down until she started showing up at my front door unannounced, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning like a hawk. One Tuesday morning, she handed me a flyer with a smug grin. "New regulation," she chirped. "All residents are required to submit a spare key to the HOA. For emergency access, of course." I blinked, trying to process. "You want my house key?" She smiled wider. "Everyone's doing it. Just 2 weeks to comply." Then she turned and walked away like she just handed me a bake sale flyer. The audacity. I stood there on my porch, flyer in hand, mouth slightly open, just watching her knock on the next door like she wasn't asking for the most insane thing I'd ever heard. I knew then this wasn't just about rules. Claire was testing us, prodding to see how far she could go. Spoiler alert, I wasn't about to fold. I stared at that piece of paper for a full minute, convinced it had to be some elaborate prank. But nope, bold black print, HOA letterhead, and Karen's royal signature confirmed it. Every homeowner was expected to hand over a spare key for emergency access only. According to her, it was about community safety, rapid crisis response, and some nonsense about preventing insurance fraud. Sounded more like an excuse to snoop. 2 weeks. That's the deadline she gave us. 14 days to cough up our privacy like it was a lost dog poster. Some neighbors, the overly agreeable types who probably think HOA fines are love letters, actually complied. Claire strutted down the block collecting keys like Halloween candy. Each one she dropped into a glittery pink lockbox labeled Emergency Master Vault. You can't make this up. Me, I wasn't budging. She left a note on my mailbox. "Please comply to avoid violation status." I tossed it. Next day, another one. Final reminder. Then she rang my doorbell at 7:15 a.m. and tried the "let's not make this difficult" approach with that condescending mom voice. I sipped my coffee and told her, "Claire, you're not FEMA. You don't need a key to my house unless a hurricane is carrying it away." I wasn't the only one either. A few brave souls in the neighborhood, like Mike from across the street, a retired firefighter with zero tolerance for nonsense, stood their ground. "I didn't survive house fires just to give Karen a backdoor to my fridge," he said, and I respected that deeply. Still, Claire wasn't backing down. She started making daily rounds, clipboard in hand, noting the non-compliant homes with a smug little tick mark. She even parked outside my driveway once, just staring at my front door like she could intimidate the hinges off it. Word spread quickly. She'd started sending warning letters, threatening HOA fines and potential legal action for those who didn't obey. She called it ensuring full community cooperation. I called it delusion wrapped in fake authority. By day 12, the tension in the neighborhood felt like a rubber band stretched to the brink, and I was already drafting a very special letter of my own. On the morning of day 14, I got an envelope shoved so aggressively into my mailbox that the flap tore clean off. Inside was a bright red notice that read, in bold capital letters, "Final warning. Non-compliance will result in county eviction proceedings." Claire had officially gone nuclear. According to her interpretation of HOA authority, failure to hand over a spare key would be considered a breach of cooperative living agreements, whatever that meant. I stood in my kitchen, holding the letter like it was radioactive, then called my lawyer. He actually laughed before saying, "Tell her to take a seat. That's a gross overreach. She can't demand access to your home, let alone evict you from the entire county. HOA has no jurisdiction outside the neighborhood. That's all I needed to hear. I folded the letter back up, walked out onto my porch, and waved it at Claire, who happened to be 3 houses down, mid-clipboard assault. "Not happening," I said loud enough for half the street to hear. She blinked, gave me a tight smile, and marched off like she had a legal army on speed dial. What followed was a paper storm. She started flooding my mailbox with formal-looking notices. Immediate compliance requested. Notice of violation. Non-resident behavior alert. One even claimed I was creating a hostile living environment by encouraging other residents to defy the board, all because I refused to hand her a key. But I wasn't alone. The small resistance started growing. Mike, sharp-tongued as ever, installed a private property trespassers will be yeeted sign on his front lawn. Maria from Lot 7 posted Claire's key demand letter online, and it went semi-viral in our local HOA forum. Memes were made. A few neighbors even filed informal complaints about abuse of power. Claire didn't care. She branded us the non-compliant 5 and began issuing $100 daily fines to each of us. Complete fiction, of course. When she had the nerve to say we were damaging neighborhood morale, I printed out the Florida statute on HOA limitations and nailed it to my front door. She upped the ante. Claire sent her precious HOA security goons to my home, dressed like mall cops but acting like FBI agents. That's when things officially crossed the line. They showed up at 9:12 a.m. sharp, 2 guys in oversized polos with HOA security embroidered like it meant something. One of them held a clipboard like it was a search warrant. The other had a keychain already out, ready to collect like a bounty hunter. Claire was standing behind them, arms crossed, smile smug enough to sour milk. "This is your final opportunity," she chirped, practically bouncing on her heels. Refusal to comply will be seen as obstruction. Obstruction of what? Her fantasy regime? I didn't say a word. I simply closed the door and locked it. Moments later, I heard them try the handle. They knocked again, harder. Then, without warning, they started rattling it, like that would somehow change my mind. That's when I grabbed my phone and started recording. "Get off my property," I shouted through the door, "or the only thing you'll be collecting is a lawsuit." They didn't leave. One of the security guys actually muttered something about entry enforcement and reached into his belt pouch for what, I don't know, maybe a walkie-talkie or a wet wipe. That's when I stepped outside with my camera still rolling and shouted for the entire neighborhood to hear, "Karen's HOA is trying to break into my home for a house key. You all watching this?" Heads peeked out from porches. Mike came walking over with his phone already recording. Maria stepped out holding a coffee like it was popcorn. Claire's face turned ghost white, then crimson. Within minutes, the cops were on their way. Not the wannabe ones, the real deal. I showed them the footage, the threats, the fake fines, the notices. Claire tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, but her expression screamed damage control. The officers looked unimpressed. My lawyer? Oh, he loved it. He filed trespassing charges, harassment claims, and got a court order freezing all HOA operations pending investigation. Turns out Claire's key rule wasn't even voted on by the full board. Total power grab. 2 weeks later, the HOA's legal rep sent out a notice. The board was being dissolved pending fraud investigations, all fines revoked, and Claire removed permanently. Her pink lockbox of keys was confiscated and cataloged as evidence. And the best part? Every resident got to watch the whole takedown unfold at the next community meeting on a 70-inch screen with popcorn provided by Mike. The end. Please, like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think Karen got what she deserved? Comment below.